Hi, this is Jeff White, Versatile Fighting Arts and Life and Living Now for qigong and meditation. And I wanted to present this short video on some ways you can build, I want to say power into your knees and your feet, but really it's how to protect, how to build up the tendons and ligaments around your knees, around your ankles, so you have better knee and ankle support for the things that you do in life. And one of the ways we do this is with a stepping drill, and it really is quite easy. The principles are, I just take a step, and if you can see, when I take a step out, I'm going to sink into this front step in such a way that my knee does not go over my toes. If it goes over my toes, then my step is too shallow. So if I just step here and I sink, I can already begin to feel the stress that's on my knee. If I step a little bit farther, now I can make it straight up and down as I sink into this foot. So how you step is important, and stepping and making sure that the knees do not go over the toes is important. And another thing for a qigong attitude with this, because I will present this now as not so much for the martial side as for the qigong, the health side. So you want to use mindfulness, present moment awareness, full-bodied awareness, and your breath. And you want to begin to move from your core, not your shoulders, not your head, not just stepping out. Everything sinks. So you want to be able to move from lower dantian, from your core, from your abdomen. So before I step back and walk towards you, just as you can see on the camera, we just start, Langkah Lura is just stepping in a straight line. Very easy. We do it all the time. But also notice how sometimes when we walk, the feet are not always straight, and sometimes they are, but sometimes we'll move them. And they kind of go off at about a 45. We're going to accent that a little bit at about the 45 and a 90 that we'll show later. So when we step, we just step. I'm very mindful. My weight, I imagine I'm sinking about 4 feet into the ground. My inhale is to step out. My exhale is sinking into the ground. Now I move back with my core, taking pressure off the foot. I turn it at a 45, but now I move again from my core, the center of my mass. I shift my weight forward, and notice I'm moving from my core, not my head, because that'll create an off balance, but through my core, sinking and stepping. Sinking into the step, shifting back, opening the foot, shifting forward again, making sure I have all my balance underneath me, and stepping. So if I stand back at the back of the room, and you can zoom in if you need to, I'm just going to say, now I am doing this from a high stance. I'll show you the difference when I come up to you. So we just step out. My knees are bent. I sink into that step. I shift my weight back. I open my foot at a 45. I move from my core, and I step. And I sink. I shift. I open the foot. I shift back. Inhale, exhale, shift, open the foot, move from your core. Now I can be a little more exaggerated to work on health. We have more hip flexors. I can just step. Now eventually, you don't look at your feet, then you just move. Now, I said when I got closer to you, I would begin to say, what happens if I step, I step, I shift, but now I lead more with my head. I lead more with my shoulders. What happens is I'm throwing myself then forward. And sometimes we do this unintentionally as we start to come in and we get a little bit wobbly. So the lower half of it stops and then the upper half keeps going, and that creates an imbalance that's here. So I want to keep it to my center and step. So that's why when we step and I sink and I shift and I move from this core. Keeps all my balance. I should be able to stop almost anywhere and be balanced once I've gotten accustomed to doing this. And that's Langkah Lura, excuse me. So, there are 2 levels. There's technically 3 levels that you can work this. I want to suggest you do the first 2. And for those that are truly adventurous, you can work on the 3rd as well. But this is high stance, okay? So knees are never locked out, knees are bent, but my hands kind of rest right about my thighs. If I drop my knees down, and because of that, remember, knees don't go over the toes, so I may need to spread my base out a little bit for stability. And then when I do, once my hand kind of reaches my knee, this is mid-range. This is where, especially in Silat, we will tend to move a lot in here. It is a good workout for your quads. Below, so high range, knees bent, hands come down, about thighs. Come down, and is at about the knee. Low range, hands down here to the floor. And we won't move there. You're welcome to that on your own. We're going to keep it to high and medium. So I did the high for you. And then we'll kind of do the medium range. So you find your target. Now I like to keep one hand down when I'm teaching this, or when I was first starting to learn this. I keep a hand down here just to remind me, don't come up. All right. So I step, I shift, 45, I move. I still keep my hand, a hand down below, I'm down here at my knee, so I'm in mid-range. I step back. And I step. Remember, I move through my core, everything controlled. I use my breath, I use my intention. Inhale, exhale, short inhale, exhale. I can inhale here and move. And so there we go. So that's working the 45 at both a high and a low. And so remember the principles: 1, intention. Mindfulness, present moment, mindfulness. Use your intention, not stress, not muscle. Use your intention. Use your breath. Move slowly. Get a feeling of your whole body moving in time and space. Not thinking of, okay, how's my ankle going to act in this? There's a temptation to, especially when you first start this, and maybe your joints, the ligaments, the tendons are not as strong as they will become, so you may be a little wobbly. So when you find that, just keep going. Don't stop. Just find out. Now, one point is, if we don't bend our knees enough, as we move forward, we tend to be really wobbly because we're carrying our weight all up high. And the answer for that is sink. Bend your knees. When you do that, you engage the psoas muscles that connect from the spine into the legs. They connect lower line, low level with high level, low line with high line, and then we begin to move. So now, that's 45. We can also go deeper with a 90-degree turn. You can see with my foot, we were stepping, and doing a 45. And the 45 allows for our hips just to move straight through when I'm coming forward in a more martial application, or just moving. But then we're also going to take it and we're going to twist to a 90 degree. Now when we do that, a little bit of safety. When I do that and I move forward, this foot is going to shift back. I'm going to turn it to a 90. But notice now, this one is now pointed to this direction. This foot's turned this direction. So it's going to be an interesting issue with my knee unless, and we do, as I shift forward, that heel turns to allow me to go forward. This is still at a 90. So I'm still going to come forward, shift, 90. As I begin to move forward, get ready to move, and to shift my way forward, this heel that's in the back now orients to go straight, and I can go straight. So what that looks like, if I come back, and I step. All right, knee does not over the toe. I shift from my abdomen back. I open up this foot at a 90. I sink, move forward. I keep all my balance where it should be. I shift, I move forward. This rolls out, this heel comes straight. I shift forward again. And I'm doing this from the high. You can see where my hands really at my thighs, knees are down, almost at my knee. Because this is a little bit more natural for me. So I sink, shift, turn, shift again, putting weight onto that. Think about it going into the ground, moving the rest of my body forward. So you can use this martially. We will do it because from this we have toe up kicks, toe out kicks, toe in kicks. We have sweeps, ankle locks, lots of things we pull from here. Now, remember we did high and medium on the 45. So we did high, let's do medium on the 90. So then I step out, hand drops to his knee. Now, once you get accustomed to this and you're not rising up and down, you don't have to do this. I point out because it's a nice little anchor for me. Bring everything together. And that's the Langkah Lura for the stepping. Now, if you find yourself wanting to rush, because sometimes that happens, we find our balance isn't quite there, and we just kind of want to rush through. Try not to do that. Keep your mind calm. As soon as you feel that rush, that need to go a little bit faster, it's typically because you've broken your structure, your frame somehow. So instead, try and correct it. The more that you will set with weight, the more, into your knees and ankles, the more you will slowly build up greater strength in the tendons and the ligaments that will give you actually more mobility, especially in later years. But actually a lot more strength than just muscle. We're not really using muscle. You'll feel this in your quads, all right? But that's really not what we're after, all right? I'm still a big proponent of doing gym workouts. I love to, to lift weights. It's been part of my workout since my 30s. But this gives longer lasting. When we're working out, and as we get older, we find the workouts don't last as long, takes more workout. We just start losing muscle. Energy dispersion is what was in the old literature on Chinese qigong. And it just happens, especially as, well, guys and girls, we get up over about 60 years old, body changes, chemicals in the body changes, and we start losing more muscle mass, those kind, and it's harder to keep it on. It's just a fact of life. But it doesn't necessarily need to be, but it doesn't mean you have to be weak. When we age, we tend to age from the legs first, all right? When we get sick, we're weakest in our legs first. So let's work on the legs where we can actually do long-term good and be able to start from wherever you are right now. If you have a knee issue, then you can still do this. Just don't go as low if it doesn't feel comfortable. I am not a doctor, have not played one on TV, but I'm a big proponent of you continue to work it. Just do it wisely. And when I had an issue with my knee, I still wanted to strengthen all the muscles around the knee to help protect it. Now that also meant that I dropped a lot in weight from doing the leg presses, and instead I just did more reps, really lightweight, or I would focus on doing these kinds of stepping exercises, all right? Now, I want to look at another way. That's the low line. When we've talked about doing the Langkah Lura stepping, both at a 45 and at a 90, and the key was going to be your mental presence, your intention, your breath, your whole focus on being there to make it more of a qigong move. Let's apply some of those same principles to the upper body when I'm looking at arms, okay? And one way of doing this, now there's a couple ways. When we're doing qigong, and even if I'm doing some of my more martial forms, sometimes we're going to come in with palms out. Notice that you have the rounded fashion of the arms as if I'm pushing. Here, I'm standing in Sun Swung, and I may be here with palms rotated towards me. I can step out a little bit, and as I'm pushing, and because I'm bringing the hand down and then turning the little fingers more back towards me, I begin to feel this torque coming into the arms. And that's one way. Then you just breathe. That's one way you can use to help strengthen the tendons and ligaments that are there in your arms. And just press. Now, there's a couple of versions of this. There's always a couple of versions of this. One is I just stand. I inhale. Now I'm doing the same thing I did in Sun Swung. I'm pulling up on my toes to kind of just feel the earth and to activate. There's a meridian point in the sole of the foot. Now when I'm dropping my tailbone, my chin is slightly tucked. Imagine I've got a thread pulled from the crown of my head, pulling my spine skyward. So all of those things happen, including when I'm not talking, putting the tongue on the roof of my mouth. But here I'm just pressing. Shoulders are down. Shoulders want to come up. Shoulders need to be down. So now when I press, it's as if I'm pressing through my palms out, but I don't move. And I first do it mentally. The key here is to relax, to feel in as deeply as you can, and to listen and feel into your body. For feeling that torque, maybe feeling stress. But I want to feel deeply, I'm not activating biceps. I want to feel in and then begin to try and tense from the innermost layers that I can feel. So I may relax a little bit, but keep the position on the inhale, exhale. I want to feel that and push. Mentally, I'm pushing, in this case, like say, towards the wall. And each time, there's a little bit more dynamic resistance. In other words, I began to tense, but I want to feel like I'm tensing from the innermost part of my forearms and arms that I can feel. At the same time, I want to mentally try and establish some space in the shoulder joints, in the elbows, and the wrist. You're not going to sit there and have your hand grow another 2 inches. That's not going to happen. But if you can relax, press in space, then even if it's just a fraction, it's more than what was there. And a fraction of decay or tightening or smashing can affect nerves. So if I can relax, visualize opening up some of those joints, and press. Now I can also, my inhale, pull back, exhale, sink, press. I still keep the rounded portion. If I were to drop my hands, they're still at my waist. So I'm not pushing them out so it's locked. That's a no-no. But I can go inhale, exhale. Inhale, pull back a little bit, exhale, reapply. That's one way. I like holding it steady, and just each time I become progressively more in the torque, progressively more feeling and tensing in the arms as deeply as I can, not surface. The thing is, when we lift weights, we kind of start with the surface of the muscle, then work the tendons, work to the bones. In this, we want to set the bones. We want to work from bones, probably tendons and ligaments first, and then the muscle. One of my favorites, once we come down here, you drop it down. Now sometimes you'll see me, and I'm going to be like this. The elbows flare out, the palms are faced down to the floor, coiling in so that I feel this bit of tension that's right here. It's more of a torque than a tension. Now, I haven't done anything to apply any resistance yet. I'm just feeling the torque, the natural torque, as I bring this hand spiraling in towards me. We check the shoulders. We relax the chest. I can press down, I can lift my middle finger, and it begins to, when I lift the hand up, it begins already to tighten the top of my arms, my forearms, but I'm going to press to the floor. Mentally, I'm pressing to the floor. And you want to get in touch with the deepest parts of your arm, and then begin to add dynamic tension. Hold it and inhale. Exhale, feel some more, and add more dynamic tension. Inhale. And I can begin to feel it when I connect into the chest, into the pecs here as well. So once I feel like I have all of this properly connected and engaged in dynamic tension, I'm moving into the chest as well. And I'll come here. Then relax. Now, another exercise is you take the hands right by your side, and the elbows are never locked, so it's never straight here. It's called straight, not straight. I'm going to press down. Same as I had before. I'm lifting up with my fingers, pressing. I feel it first in my forearms as it connects in with in my case, into elbows. Then as I press down more, remember, I'm not engaging biceps. If I find myself engaging a bicep, I relax it, I go deeper. I want to feel that space in my arms again. Inhale. Exhale, really press through. Inhale. Press some more. Notice that I'm not straining, but what I'm doing is I'm sending this energy here, I'm tightening from as deep inside my forearms and biceps as I can feel, and relax it. You should be able to feel that release in your wrists and forearms. Now, imagine you're picking up a big, 5-gallon jar, and you've got it by the lid. So I'm turning. Now I'm not trying to, we do have this where I'm using my fist and coming down. I prefer not to do that, and especially if you're dealing with like arthritis and things like that, don't. Just keep your fingers open. And then now I'm going to turn, and when I turn, I can either turn to a 90 or back beyond, and I can make this two separate exercises. But when I do, I'm picking up that jar, I'm turning so I can feel it in my triceps. And now the same principles. Shoulders down, elbows are not locked. I'm imagining and feeling space between the shoulders, elbows, wrists. I'm pushing mentally to the floor, and I can add a little bit of dynamic tension there as well. And that begins to engage deeply on the triceps. And when I feel like I'm maybe too much in the muscle, I rotate the hands a little bit to the back to engage more of the tendons. And I press down. And I add in some dynamic tension in this as well, so that eventually I do activate the triceps, but not until I feel like I have properly reached and added that tension from the inside out. And then I might go a little bit farther. Now notice my hands are not up right at 90 degrees, just because my wrists don't. And if yours do, fantastic. Relax. Last one. Well, second to last one. For biceps, then we kind of go to tiger. So with this, the hands come out and I just roll it. Notice my elbows are at my side. I'm turning my little fingers as if I can move them together. They're not going to, but as I do, same principle. Relax the shoulders, relax the joints, relax the arms. Feel the torque first. That's very important. If you rush that, you're just kind of, you're short-circuiting yourself, short-changing yourself. So don't do that. Just feel. Get in touch with that torque first. Now I'll grant you, the first several times I did this, I really didn't feel that much deeply inside, and then all of a sudden I could start to feel more and more. I got a feeling for what I wanted to feel. And there we go. And so now it does begin to engage the bicep, but I'm not looking at building the biceps. I'm engaging those tendons and the ligaments that are there. And relax. Very good. Now, within the Surete organization, my main organization, we have a coiling qigong that's also very wonderful. Last one, more for the back. There's times when we come up, presenting the pestle, and we come up, and we're here. And I always would say, make sure that your elbows are rotated back by your ears. Because if you do this, and I'm pressing towards the sky, I will feel it along my shoulders and my back. Same thing. I'm still pressing, rotating. I'm trying to get my palm as flat to the sky as possible. The elbows will naturally drift forward because it releases pressure. So when you feel that, get them back up there. Get those elbows back behind your shoulders. Feel that. Then relax. Make sure the shoulders are dropped. Make sure that you are not tense where you shouldn't be. And I can press both towards the ceiling as well as my elbows back. Inhale, exhale, get in touch, add more dynamic tension. And you can do this when you first get started, maybe 3 to 5 breaths is good. The more that you do that, go to 10 to 15 breaths. And I'd love to hear what you think. Thank you much.